Namaste, Jai Bharat. Inadvertently though, finally we end up talking about Pakistan at least once in 2 days, because things happening in Pakistan happen right under our nose, and we have some concerns for those genuine who belong to their ancestry, but the vast majority have nothing to do at all with their ancestry, because with the changing of religion they have changed the culture. Culture for us is Sanskriti, and there is a difference between Sanskriti and culture. Sanskriti is based on a knowledge tradition. That's how the Sanskrit concept of Sanskriti differs from the English concept of culture. Sanskriti is based on a knowledge tradition, which is the Veda Upanishadic knowledge tradition. Call it as Hindu, no harm. You don't have to call it as a Hindu, again no harm. It's a knowledge system, it's a knowledge tradition. And on the basis of this knowledge tradition, a longing towards better existence, that is towards refined human existence, develops into Sanskriti. And the Sanskriti as a characteristics built in within, that characteristics shall be a longing towards the transcendental. So these three things are existing together. Whereas when you talk of culture in English, it only connotes refined human existence. It doesn't reflect, or it doesn't include a knowledge tradition and also a longing towards the transcendental. So that's the difference between Sanskriti in Sanskrit language and culture in English language. So they have lost their Sanskriti. That's why you want to use the word Sanskriti. They have lost their Sanskriti, many, vast majority of them, and have attempted to adopt something which is not Sanskriti as culture. Something which is not theirs as culture, and where they have miserably failed, if at all they wanted to live up to the concept of a culture. They failed miserably because they misunderstood religion as a culture. Religion is entirely different from culture. They misunderstood religion as a culture, and even religion which is not originally theirs, it's originally from a different land, and those people live their religion in their perfect manner. There's no problem. And these people who have copied it wrongly, and lives in all kinds of complexities and problems. But they think that they are much better than the original people, the Arabs of that religion, and they look at the Arabs, look down upon the Arabs, just because given the Pakistani understanding of culture, religion, the Arabs don't fall into their frame. Therefore, they believe that Arabs are below. This is a problem with Pakistanis fundamentally. Though they have lost their Sanskriti, there are few who unknowingly are Sanskaris. They are not conscious, but there are many in Pakistan, at least quite a few number of people, who have this leftover imprint of Bharatiya Sanskriti in them, in spite of the fact that they hate Hindus. But that Sanskriti remains somewhere. Just because of that, some concern is always there for the people of Pakistan who still have some imprint of Bharatiya Sanskriti left in them, in spite of their belief that Hindus are kafirs, so Hindus ought to be hated. Because of this, some thought about Pakistan has always come. Now look at the situation in Pakistan. They look around, look at their surrounding nations. We'll talk about Bharat last. See, Nepal, Bangladesh, our neighbors I'm talking about, what should be their neighbors, and Sri Lanka, say Maldives, and Afghanistan, and other such nations, neighbors. They compare more with Bharat themselves than nations like Iran, Iraq, Kazakhstan, etc. They compare themselves more with Bharat. And you look at Bharat, I'm talking about the price inflation, petrol, oil, whatever, petrol, oil, and gas, and commodities, vegetables, milk, and such things. The price you compare, it's really more, much more in Pakistan than any other nations. And Pakistan is a very experts in creating narratives, false narratives, obviously, that in Bharat the elected democratic government wants to come in power again. So they will somehow, in spite of all odds, not let the petrol price go up. Our petrol price has not gone up. Yeah, the industrial use gas or gas prices increased, cylinders, and petrol. There are two kinds of petrols in Bharat. I think maybe other places also they may have premium petrol and normal petrol. Premium petrol, some small increase is there, but the normal petrol, which I also use normal petrol only, most people use normal petrol. Even if premium petrol was not very costlier than normal petrol, I also had never used to put premium petrol because I found that's not needed. Premium petrol for my vehicles are not that bad, but still. Normally people use normal petrol, so they have made a little price up, very few, 2 rupees or something, if I remember, for premium petrol only. But the normal petrol price continues from last several years. All this crisis and complications in Iran and the war with the US have not affected our petrol and gas prices. I have piped gas at my home and there is no increase, and the cylinders are also, prices had not gone up. The prices had gone up for industrial use of things, not for domestic use. Not exorbitantly as one might think, very marginal normal increase for places like premium petrol and industrial use of things. Otherwise, for a domestic person, for a common man, nothing has gone up, and there is no inflation. Our prices have not gone up for anything, commodities, vegetables, everything is as usual. Nothing has gone up, but quite a few things have come down, maybe because of other reasons. But the war had not affected our nation. War had not affected our people. The prices were kept at steady. And the narrative of Pakistan says that this is a democratic government, so if they want to come in power, they have to keep it that way. But to keeping it that way has to be an effort, has to be a method. Why can't you do it? None of these people of our rulers are that rich who can spend from their pockets. Actually, many of our rulers have nothing in their personal capacity. They just live like common simple people. Whereas here, the Pakistani leaders, they have amassed wealth and deposited and stored their wealth in some nations outside Pakistan. If you look at the Pakistani authority, invariably you will find most of them after retirement wanting to go to a different nation and to live a different kind of life. Whatever laws of religion and whatever norms they wanted others to practice in Pakistan, they themselves would not like to practice, and the place they would like to go to after finishing their job here and not to come back, in that such places they would like to live in a different life, entirely different from what they prescribe to their society. This contradiction is right under the nose of the public of Pakistan. They don't understand it. I don't know whether they really don't understand it or are incapable of addressing that. But it happens right under their nose. But we don't see them reacting to that. They would continue to be zombies at the instances of narratives spread upon them. So we call in Hindi, "Ye log churan khaka baithe hai." So they are taking such churans from their authority and live zombie lives. That's the situation in Pakistan. So they keep comparing why only we suffer, and very few ask this question. When they ask this question, why only we suffer, they get this narrative: other people have to come in power so they don't increase. Is it in our capacity either to increase or not to increase, and especially not to increase? Increasing, of course, you can do, but not to increase, you must have other sources. And what are the other sources? If I have, why can't you have? Or why don't you have? So these things people don't think. So Pakistan keeps selling this churan, as they say, to their people. Their authority sells these kind of things to the people, and the people swallow it with eyes closed. And the most interesting aspect is that they take this narrative serious and would believe it. They continue thinking that Hindus are kafirs, they have to be hated, and they continue to believe that the Hindus in Bharat are inflicting such hostilities on the Muslim population in Bharat. All these narratives and stories they do believe. They think that the Muslims are kept as slaves of Hindus in Bharat. The history, Pakistan history begins like that. आज़ादी से पहले मुसलमान भारत में हिंदुओं का गुलाम था. आज़ादी से पहले मुसलमान भारत में हिंदुओं का गुलाम था. And it is Muhammad Ali Jinnah Quaid-e-Azam who saved the enslaved Muslims from the Hindus' slavery and created Pakistan. This is a narrative they are selling to their children. What kind of azadi or freedom are you talking about? For about at least 200 years, 800 years plus, they were the Mughals ruling Bharat. That time, if Muslims were slaves of Hindus, then what was the significance of Mughal rule? And during the British time, the Muslims were more benefited than Hindus because the British found it useful to support Muslims against the Hindus, so that they can maintain some kind of differences and rifts, which would make their rule more easy. So then also Muslims were supported. They never started a Hindu university in Bharat, but they started a Mohammedan Anglo-Oriental College at Aligarh, which later was turned into a Muslim university. And they themselves remained the principal for a long time. Many Europeans, Britishers were principals, whether it is Theodore Beck or Theodore Roseman, these people were the principals of that college. So they have supported Muslims, and with all this background right under their nose, right in front of their eyes, the Pakistani history says that in Bharat, Muslims were enslaved by Hindus, which is absolutely not just false but farce. Waste of time looking at it. And today they have these narratives. You ask a child in Pakistan, what is the condition of Muslims in Bharat? He will say, they have been enslaved by the Hindus. Now of course we can say that it's a Hindu rule, and it was not the case 10 years before. Now you may say that it's a Hindu rule, and it's a Hindu rule is the only place where people can live with respect. Non-Hindus I am talking about, because Hindus' philosophy is equality, equal respect to all. That you can't understand, you will never understand. The problem with such people are that they think that others are also like them in their negativities, not in positive attitudes. Others are also negative like them. That's precisely why Pakistan calls that the Muslims in India are suffering. Even today they say this story. And how ridiculous, let's say how bitter, contrariness, and how senseless such narratives are. And people are buying it. That's their problem. And with that problem, how can you make a meaningful society is the end question I would like to ask and conclude. We shall meet. Namaste. Jai Bharat. Jai Sri Ram.